The great chamber of the Galactic Council stood empty in its center. Around the circular room, representatives from 12 different species sat in their designated seats, some floating, some standing, others resting on platforms designed for their unique bodies. The human seats remained empty. Ambassador Jakar noticed this immediately. The Valorian diplomat's forearms moved in a gesture of concern as he looked at the vacant human section for the third time this month. His silver skin reflected the soft blue light of the chamber as he spoke to his assistant. "The humans are absent again," Jakar said quietly. His assistant, a younger Valorian named Tekma, barely looked up from her data tablet. "They are always late, Ambassador. You know how they are." But Jakar felt something wrong in his bones. Humans were many things. They were loud. They were pushy. They asked too many questions. But they were never absent. Not like this. Not 3 sessions in a row. High Arbiter Kelnoth called the session to order. The ancient being's form shimmered behind a protective field. No one knew exactly what Kelnoth looked like anymore. He had lived for thousands of years and now existed partly in another dimension. His voice echoed through everyone's mind rather than their ears. "We begin today's council session. First matter, the trade dispute between the Matherian Collective and the Bronze Worlds." The session continued as it always did. Boring discussions about trade routes, arguments about mineral rights, complaints about tariffs. Jakar tried to pay attention, but his eyes kept drifting to the empty human seats. After 2 hours, he could not stay quiet any longer. When there was a break in the discussion, Jakar stood and raised one of his hands. "High Arbiter, I wish to raise a concern." Kelnoth's attention turned to him. "Speak, Valorian representative. The human delegation has not attended the last 3 sessions. This is unusual behavior. I request permission to investigate their absence." Several council members made sounds of dismissal. One of the Crethian representatives, a massive creature covered in thick armor plates, spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "The humans are young, unreliable. Perhaps they have grown bored of our proceedings." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Even Kelnoth seemed amused. "The humans have been part of this council for only 23 years, the High Arbiter said. They are still learning proper diplomatic behavior. I am sure they will return when they remember their obligations." "Your concern is noted but not urgent." Jakar sat down slowly. Something felt wrong, but he could not argue with the High Arbiter. Not in open session. After the meeting ended, Jakar returned to his office. It was a simple space with windows looking out at the station's docking area. Ships from hundreds of worlds came and went constantly, but as he looked out he realized something. There were no human ships. None at all. He turned to his computer terminal and began searching. Human trade ships visited this station every day. They were merchants, curious explorers, and sometimes annoying tourists. But according to the docking records, the last human ship had left 6 months ago. 6 months. Jakar's hands moved quickly across the controls. He sent a communication request to Earth's Sol system. It would take time for the message to travel, but he needed answers. 3 days later, the response came back. But it was not from a human. It was an automated message. "The embassy staff of Earth have been recalled. All diplomatic missions have been closed. For inquiries, please contact the Council Secretary." Jakar felt cold. He immediately went to the Council Secretary's office. The secretary was a Vendari, a species known for keeping perfect records. Its 3 eyes looked at Jakar with mild annoyance. "Yes, Ambassador Jakar? How may I help you?" "The humans. When did they recall their diplomatic staff?" The secretary touched its console. 6 months ago. They filed all proper paperwork. Very thorough, actually. Humans are usually sloppy with forms, but these were perfect. Did they say why? Internal restructuring. Not uncommon for younger species. They need to reorganize sometimes. Jakar was not satisfied. What about their colonies? Their settlements on other worlds? The secretary's eyes blinked in sequence. I do not have that information. That would be handled by the Colonial Affairs Office." Jakar went next to Colonial Affairs, then to Trade Regulation, then to the Military Liaison Office. Everywhere he went, the answer was the same. The humans had quietly, systematically closed down everything. Every embassy, every trade office, every military exchange program. 47 human colony worlds had gone silent. Not with distress calls, not with emergencies. They simply stopped communicating. All at once. All according to schedule. No one had noticed because it had been so orderly. By the time Jakar compiled his report, 2 weeks had passed. He requested an emergency session of the council. This time he would make them listen. The council gathered again. Jakar presented his findings. He showed the data, the timeline, the systematic withdrawal of all human presence from council space. 180 human vessels have vanished from all known trade routes, Jakar said. 47 colonies have ceased all communication. Every human diplomatic post has closed. This is not internal restructuring. This is complete withdrawal. High Arbiter Kelnoth considered this for a long moment. Your investigation is thorough, Ambassador. But what do you suggest has happened? I do not know. But it was planned. Everything was filed correctly. Everything was done in order. The humans left deliberately. The Creathian representative spoke again. Perhaps they have decided they do not need us. Young species often grow arrogant. They will return when they realize their mistake. Others agreed. The consensus was clear. The humans had probably insulted themselves somehow and retreated to their home space. They would be back when they needed something. We will monitor the situation, Kelnoth declared. If the humans do not return within 6 months, we will send an investigation fleet. Until then, we have more pressing matters, Jakar wanted to argue. He wanted to demand immediate action. But he was one voice among dozens. The council had spoken. He returned to his office feeling defeated. But Jakar was not one to give up easily. He had friends in intelligence services. He had contacts who owed him favors. If the council would not investigate, he would do it himself. Over the next month, Jakar gathered more information. What he found disturbed him greatly. Human listening posts near council space had been abandoned. But when his contacts investigated them, they found something strange. The posts were intact. Power was still running. But everything valuable had been removed. Carefully, systematically. One of his contacts, a Zix trader who specialized in information, sent him a private message. Whatever the humans did, they planned it for a long time. I found cargo manifests. They were stockpiling supplies, moving equipment. They filed it all under different corporate names, but it was them. They were preparing for something. Jakar stared at the data late into the night. The humans had not fled. They had not collapsed. They had prepared for something and then vanished. But prepared for what? He thought back to 18 months ago. There had been a human scientist at the council, Dr. Mira Okonkwo. She had tried to present research about anomalies at the edge of the galaxy, something about unusual readings. The council had given her 15 minutes to speak, and then dismissed her findings as interesting but not urgent. Jakar had not paid much attention at the time. Now he wondered if that had been a mistake. A terrible mistake. He looked out his window at the stars beyond the station. Somewhere out there humanity was hiding, or preparing. Or worse, they knew something that the council did not. Whatever it was, Jakar had a sick feeling that they would all find out soon, and by then it might be too late. 3 months passed before the council finally authorized an investigation fleet. Jakar was assigned to go with them, along with representatives from 5 other species. The fleet consisted of 12 ships, well armed and equipped with the best sensors the council had. Their first destination was Proxima Station, a human mining colony that had been home to 15,000 people. The station orbited a dead world rich in rare metals. Humans had been working there for 12 years. When the fleet arrived, Jakar felt his breath catch. The station was intact. Lights were on. The docking bay doors were open, welcoming them. But there were no ships, no people. No response to their hails. The investigation team boarded the station carefully, weapons ready. Jakar went with the first group. His 4 hands held a scanner and a weapon, though he was not sure what he expected to fight. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. The corridors were clean. The lights worked. In the residential sections, personal belongings sat on shelves. Pictures of families hung on walls. In the cafeteria, food was stored properly in refrigerators. The hydroponics gardens were still growing vegetables under automated lights. It is like they just stepped out for a moment, said Commander Vex, the military leader of the investigation. He was a Creathian, massive and armored, but even his deep voice sounded uncertain. They checked the administrative offices. Computers were locked but still running. When their technical team broke the encryption, they found normal files, work schedules, maintenance reports, Everything you would expect, but no people. No bodies, no signs of struggle. No emergency messages. The investigation team spent 2 days at Proxima Station. They found the same pattern everywhere. The humans had left in an orderly fashion. They had taken what they needed and left everything else running. Why leave the power on? Shakar asked. Why keep the gardens growing? No one had an answer. The fleet moved to the next human colony. Then the next. 7 colonies in total. Every single one was the same. Empty but intact. Abandoned but maintained. At the 4th colony on a planet called New Harmony, Shakar made a discovery. He was searching through a research facility when he found a hidden data storage unit behind a wall panel. It was not labeled. It was not on any of the facility maps. But his scanner detected it. The technical team extracted the data. It was heavily encrypted but not with military-grade security. It was more like someone had hidden it in a way that only someone looking would find it. When they broke the encryption, Shakar understood. This was meant to be found. Eventually, the files contained research data, astronomical observations, sensor readings from the edge of the galaxy, and a name, the Whisper. Shakar read through the files carefully. The humans had detected something 18 months ago. An anomaly moving through the space between galaxies. At first it was just strange readings, gaps in sensor data, stars that seemed to flicker and die, but the humans had investigated further. They had sent probe ships to the Galactic Rim. 3 of those ships had disappeared. The 4th had sent back data before it too went silent. The data showed something impossible. Something vast was coming. It consumed everything in its path. Matter. Energy. Even light itself seemed to vanish around it. The humans had called it the Whisper because that was what it did to star systems. They whispered into silence and then vanished completely. Shakar felt ice in his veins as he read the final files. The humans had brought this evidence to the council 18 months ago. Dr. Mira Okonkwo had presented preliminary findings and asked for a full investigation. The council had denied the request. Too expensive, too speculative, based on too little evidence. Shakar remembered that session now. He had voted with the majority. They all had. The humans had tried to warn them, and the council had ignored them. We need to send this to the High Arbiter immediately, Commander Vex said when Shakar showed him the files. They transmitted the data back to council headquarters. Then they continued their investigation, but now with a growing sense of dread. At the 6th colony, they found more hidden files. These ones contained plans. Operation Exodus, the humans had called it. A complete withdrawal from all council space. Every human was to be evacuated to a staging area outside the galaxy's main disk. The files showed logistics that took Shakar's breath away. The humans had planned everything. Food supplies for 2 years, medical equipment, manufacturing facilities, weapons, ships. Everything a civilization would need to survive in deep space, and they had done it all in secret. While maintaining normal diplomatic relations, while attending council sessions and complaining about trade regulations, the whole time they had been preparing to disappear. How did we not notice? Vex asked, his voice heavy with disbelief. Shakar understood. Because we did not think they were capable of this level of planning. We thought they were young, impulsive. We underestimated them. The investigation fleet returned to council headquarters after 6 weeks. Shakar presented his findings to a full session. This time everyone listened. High Arbiter Kelnoth's voice filled everyone's mind. You are certain of this information? I am. The humans detected a threat. They warned us. We dismissed them. So they prepared on their own. Silence fell over the chamber. The implications were clear. If the threat was real, it was coming. And the council had wasted 18 months. The Creathian representative who had mocked the humans before spoke quietly now. What do we do? Before anyone could answer, alarms began to sound. Emergency alerts flashed on every console. The communications officer's voice came over the speakers, high with panic. We have lost contact with the Outer Rim colonies. 17 systems have stopped transmitting. All at once, Shakar felt his heart sink. The Outer Rim. Exactly where the humans had predicted the Whisper would arrive first. Kelnoth took control immediately. Send reconnaissance ships. Full military alert. All council fleets to defensive positions. Over the next 3 days, the reconnaissance ships sent back horrifying reports. The 17 systems were gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, gone. Where there had been stars and planets, there was now nothing, just empty space, dark and silent. The Whisper had arrived. Jakar worked without sleep, coordinating information from dozens of sources. More systems went dark every day. The pattern was clear. The Whisper was moving through the galaxy's outer edge, consuming everything. On the 4th day, Jakar received a private message on his console. It came through channels he did not recognize. The encryption was human. When he opened it, a message played. It was a recording, not a live transmission. The speaker was a human woman Jakar vaguely recognized. She wore a military uniform. Ambassador Jakar, my name is Commander Elena Thrace. You don't know me, but I know you. We've been watching the Council's investigation. You found our files. Good. That means you know what's coming. The woman's face was hard but not cruel. She looked tired, like she had not slept in months. We didn't run away, Ambassador. We repositioned. We've been preparing for 18 months, building, planning, learning everything we can about the Whisper. We have a plan, but we can't do it alone. Thrace leaned forward. We left you a gift at the coordinates attached to this message. Consider it an invitation. Bring whoever from the Council you can trust. But come quickly. The Whisper moves faster than we predicted. The message ended. Jakar stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he checked the coordinates. They pointed to a location far beyond the galaxy's main disk, in the space between galaxies. In the dark where nothing should exist. Jakar made his decision. He would go, even if the Council refused. Even if he went alone. The humans had tried to warn them once. They had been ignored. He would not make that mistake twice. Jakar convinced High Arbiter Kelnoth to let him take a small diplomatic vessel to the coordinates. Commander Vex volunteered to go with him, along with 3 other Council members who believed the human message was genuine. The Council was too busy dealing with the crisis to argue. In the 2 weeks since the Whisper's arrival, 29 star systems had gone dark. The Council's military fleets had tried to engage the threat 3 times. Each time they had failed completely. The Whisper's entities adapted to every weapon the Council threw at them. Energy weapons were absorbed. Kinetic weapons were deflected. Nuclear weapons simply vanished before impact. Entire fleets had been consumed. Thousands of ships. Millions of lives. The journey to the human coordinates took 5 days at maximum speed. Jakar spent most of that time reviewing everything they knew about the Whisper. It was not much. The entities appeared to be biomechanical. They operated as a swarm, but with perfect coordination. They did not communicate in any language the Council could understand. They simply consumed. On the 5th day, their sensors detected something impossible. Ambassador, the ship's pilot called out. You need to see this. Jakar moved to the command deck. The view screen showed a region of space that should have been empty. Instead, it was filled with structures, hundreds of them, massive space stations connected by transport tubes. Shipyards larger than anything the Council had ever built, defensive platforms bristling with weapons, and ships. So many ships. They filled the space like a metal cloud. How is this possible? Vex whispered. The resources needed to build this. It would take decades. The humans had 18 months, Jakar said quietly, and they used every second of it. A communication request came through. Jakar accepted it. The screen showed Commander Thrace. She looked even more tired than in her recorded message, but she smiled slightly when she saw them. Ambassador Jakar, Commander Vex, welcome to Haven Station. Please follow the beacon to Docking Bay 7. We have much to discuss. The docking procedures were efficient and quick. When Jakar and his group exited their ship, they found themselves in a massive hangar filled with activity. Humans rushed everywhere, moving supplies, repairing ships, coordinating on portable computers. The noise was incredible. Commander Thrace met them at the docking platform. She was shorter than Jakar expected, but she carried herself with absolute authority. Her uniform was clean but worn. Her dark skin showed signs of exhaustion, but her eyes were sharp and alert. Thank you for coming, she said, shaking Jakar's hand in the human custom. I know it took courage to make this journey. What is this place? Jakar asked, gesturing at the activity around them. This is what we built instead of arguing, Thrace said. There was no anger in her voice, just statement of fact. Come, I'll show you. She led them through the station. Everywhere Jakar looked, he saw preparations for war. Training centers where humans practiced combat maneuvers. Medical bays expanded far beyond normal capacity. Manufacturing plants producing weapons and ammunition. Food storage facilities holding supplies for millions. We evacuated every human from council space, Thrace explained as they walked. 4 billion people. We moved them here in stages over 18 months. We told everyone it was a colonization project. Most people didn't know the real reason until they arrived. How did you keep it secret? Vex asked. Thrace gave a bitter smile. Because the council wasn't paying attention. You thought we were too young to be a real threat or a real ally. You underestimated us, so we used that. They reached a command center where dozens of humans worked at stations monitoring sensor data. Holographic displays showed the galaxy, with red markers indicating where the Whisper had consumed systems. A tall man with gray hair approached them. His uniform indicated high rank. Thrace gestured to him. This is Admiral Chen. He commands our military operations. Admiral Chen nodded to the council representatives. We've been tracking the Whisper since we first detected it. We've learned things the council hasn't had time to learn. He brought up a display showing one of the entities. It looked like a massive organism, kilometers long, covered in what appeared to be both organic tissue and mechanical components. Tendrils extended from its body, each one capable of tearing apart a ship. The Whisper operates on hive logic, Chen explained. Every entity is connected to every other entity. They process information sequentially, adapting to threats as they encounter them. That's why the Council's weapons don't work. The entities learn and adjust faster than you can change tactics. So how do we fight them? Shakar asked. Thrace and Chen exchanged looks. Then Thrace said, We don't fight them the way the Council has been fighting. We fight them like humans. She brought up another display. This one showed battle footage. Human ships engaged the Whisper entities using tactics Shakar had never seen before. They attacked, then retreated immediately. They used false targets and decoys. They struck from unexpected angles and disappeared before the entities could adapt. The entities expect logical warfare, Chen said. Coordinated attacks, predictable patterns. We don't give them that. We use chaos, randomness, we do things that don't make tactical sense. It confuses their hive mind. Shakar watched as a human ship deliberately flew in circles around an entity, firing at random intervals, while 3 other ships attacked from different angles at unpredictable times. The entity tried to adapt but could not lock onto any single pattern. Eventually, the coordinated chaos overwhelmed it. You've destroyed them? Vex asked, his voice filled with hope. Some, Thrace admitted. Not enough. We've lost 40 ships learning what works. But we're getting better. She led them to another section of the command center. There, a woman with dark skin and intelligent eyes was working with a team of scientists. Shakar recognized her immediately. Dr. Okonkwo, he said. The scientist looked up and smiled sadly. Ambassador, I wondered if you'd remember me. You tried to warn us. I did. You didn't listen. So we prepared without you. She gestured to the equipment around her. We've been developing weapons specifically designed to fight the Whisper. We call them chaos weapons. She showed them a torpedo that looked strange, covered in irregular patterns and asymmetric designs. This weapon operates on randomized principles. Its trajectory changes unpredictably. Its detonation timing is based on quantum uncertainty. The Whisper's hive mind cannot predict it, because there's nothing to predict. It's pure chaos. Does it work? Shakar asked. Better than anything the Council has tried, Dr. Okonkwo said. But it's not enough. We need more ships, more weapons, more people. Thrace turned to face the Council representatives directly. That's why we invited you here. The Whisper is consuming the galaxy. In 3 months, it will reach the core systems. The Council's fleets can't stop it. But together, maybe we can. What are you proposing? Vex asked. Sanctuary, Thrace said simply. We'll protect any species that comes here. We'll feed them, house them, keep them safe, but only if they follow our command structure. Only if they fight the way we fight. We don't have time for council debates or diplomatic protocols. This is survival. Shakar felt the weight of her words. The proud elder species of the council would have to submit to human command, accept orders from the species they had dismissed as too young. You're asking them to give up their pride, he said. I'm asking them to choose between pride and existence, Thrace replied. The Whisper doesn't care about your history or your accomplishments. It just consumes. She pulled up a final display. It showed projections of the Whisper's advance. Within 6 months, half the galaxy would be gone. Within a year, everything. We have a plan to stop it, Thrace said. But we need help, real help, not committees and debates, action. Shakar looked at the display, then at the busy humans around him. They had done more in 18 months than the Council had done in centuries. Because they had acted instead of debated. Because they had prepared instead of denied. I will take your offer back to the Council, Shakar said. I will make them understand. Do it quickly, Thrace said. The Whisper doesn't wait. As Shakar and his group prepared to leave, he turned back to Thrace one last time. Why help us? After we ignored you? Thrace was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because someone has to. Because we're not doing this for gratitude or recognition. We're doing it because it's right. Because if we don't, everyone dies, including us. She offered her hand again. Shakar took it. Don't take too long, Ambassador. Time is something none of us have anymore. The council meeting was the most heated Shakar had ever attended. Representatives shouted at each other across the chamber. Some demanded they accept humanity's offer immediately. Others refused to submit to human authority. High Arbiter Kelnoth struggled to maintain order. We are the elder species, the Creathian representative roared. We have civilizations that existed when humans were still living in caves. We do not take orders from children. Then you will die with your pride intact, Shakar shot back. I have seen what they built, what they accomplished in 18 months. While we debated, they acted. While we ignored the warnings, they prepared. They are the only reason any of us have a chance at survival. The argument continued for hours. Meanwhile, the Whisper continued its advance. 50 systems had now gone dark. The Council's remaining fleets were in full retreat. Billions of refugees fled toward the core worlds, overwhelming every station and planet they reached. Finally, Kelnoth made his decision. Those species who wish to accept humanity's sanctuary may do so. Those who wish to continue fighting under Council command may do that as well. We will not force anyone to submit. It was a compromise that satisfied no one, but it was enough. Over the next 2 weeks, the evacuation began. 10 species accepted humanity's offer and began moving their populations to Haven Station. 5 species refused and stayed to defend their homeworlds with Council fleets. 2 species attempted to flee beyond the galaxy entirely, hoping to outrun the Whisper. Shakar volunteered to coordinate the evacuation efforts. He worked directly with Commander Thrace and her staff, helping translate between human efficiency and alien confusion. It was chaos, but organized chaos. The humans had prepared for this too. They had housing modules ready, food distribution systems, medical facilities capable of treating dozens of different biologies. They had even researched cultural requirements for each species and made accommodations. You planned for all of this, Shakar said one day as he watched a transport ship full of Valorian refugees dock at Haven Station. Thrace stood beside him, checking a tablet. We hoped we wouldn't need to. We hoped the Council would listen and we could all prepare together. But we planned for the worst. More ships arrived every day. Not just refugees, but military vessels too. Council ships that had survived encounters with the Whisper came to Haven Station requesting to be retrofitted with Chaos weapons. The humans worked around the clock, modifying alien weapon systems to operate on unpredictable principles. Shakar was assigned to one of the human strike teams as a liaison. He trained with them, learning their tactics. At first, the randomness of their approach bothered him. They would attack when logic said to retreat. They would retreat when they had advantage. They did things that made no tactical sense, but then he understood. That was the point. One day, his strike team engaged a Whisper entity near a dying star system. Shakar was aboard a human destroyer called the Defiant. The captain was a young woman named Rodriguez who smiled when she flew into danger. Hold on, Ambassador, she called out as alarms blared. This is going to get weird. The Defiant flew straight at the entity, then suddenly spun and fired in the opposite direction. The Chaos weapon's trajectory curved impossibly, striking the entity from behind. 2 other human ships attacked from different angles while a 4th ship broadcast false sensor readings. The entity tried to adapt, but could not lock onto any pattern. Its tendrils lashed out at empty space. When it finally focused on the Defiant, Captain Rodriguez was already somewhere else entirely. Fire pattern Delta Random 7, Rodriguez shouted. The weapons officer looked at his console and actually laughed before firing. Shakar later learned that Delta Random 7 meant the weapons officer could fire at whatever timing and pattern he personally felt like. There was no pattern, just intuition. The entity was destroyed. The strike team returned to Haven Station having lost no ships. How did you know that would work? Shakar asked Rodriguez afterward. She shrugged. I didn't, that's the point. The Whisper can't predict what we don't plan. Admiral Chen called a meeting of all strike team leaders 3 weeks after the evacuation began. Shakar attended as a full member now, not just a liaison. High Arbiter Kelnoth appeared as a hologram. The ancient being had finally arrived at Haven Station, his pride finally broken by reality. We have learned much, Chen began, bringing up tactical displays. The Whisper entities all connect back to a central nexus. We've traced the connection to a location deep in the galactic rim. If we destroy that nexus, we believe the entire Whisper network will collapse. Where is it? Kelnoth asked. Chen highlighted a region of space filled with dead stars and ancient cosmic debris. Beyond the rim, in what used to be a dwarf galaxy that merged with ours billions of years ago, it's heavily defended. Our probes suggest there are thousands of entities protecting it. Then we'll need everything we have, Thrace said quietly. She looked at the assembled leaders. Representatives of 12 species now worked together in that room. This is it. One strike. Either we succeed or we lose everything. Dr. Okonkwo entered the meeting, her face grave. We've analyzed the Nexus data. It's not natural. The Whisper was created by something. Someone. It's old. Older than any of our civilizations. We think it's a weapon built by a species that died out millions of years ago. A weapon? Vex asked. For what purpose? Galactic cleansing, Dr. Okonkwo said. We found fragments of data that suggest the Whisper has done this before. Multiple times. To multiple galaxies. It's designed to reset everything. Start over with a clean slate. The room fell silent. The implications were staggering. Can we reprogram it? Shakar asked. Dr. Okonkwo nodded slowly. Maybe, if we can reach the core systems. If we can survive long enough. It's possible we could change its directives instead of destroying it. Thrace stood up. Then that's the mission. Operation Prometheus. We take every ship we have. Every species that can fight. We hit the Nexus hard and fast. Chaos tactics all the way. We get Dr. Okonkwo's team to the core. They reprogram it. We save the galaxy. And if it doesn't work? Someone asked. Thrace's face was hard. Then we die trying. Because there's no plan B, there's no fallback. This is it. The next 2 weeks were spent in preparation. Every ship was armed with chaos weapons. Every crew trained in unpredictable tactics. Shakar found himself working alongside humans, Krethians, Valorians, and 8 other species. The old prejudices fell away. There was no time for them. High Arbiter Kelnoth requested a private meeting with Shakar before the operation launched. The ancient being's hologram flickered in the small office. I was wrong, Kelnoth said simply. About the humans. About the threat. About everything. I let my pride in the Council's age and wisdom blind me to their warnings. We all did, Shakar replied. I voted against Dr. Okonkwo's request too. But you were willing to change. To learn. To accept that the humans saw something we did not. Kelnoth's form shimmered. If we survive this, the Council must change. The old ways of dismissing younger species must end. If we survive, Shakar said. The day of Operation Prometheus arrived. The combined fleet gathered in formation. Shakar stood on the bridge of the Defiant beside Captain Rodriguez. Through the view screen, he could see hundreds of ships. Human destroyers, Valorian carriers, Krethian battleships, all united under one purpose. Commander Thrace's voice came over all channels. All ships, this is Thrace. Today we fight not as separate species, not as Council or humans. We fight as survivors. The Whisper wants to erase us. To start over. We're going to teach it that life doesn't surrender, not when there's something worth fighting for. She paused. Don't follow the plan. There is no plan. Trust your instincts. Embrace chaos. Make them unable to predict us. And whatever happens, remember that we chose to fight. We chose to stand together. That's what makes us different from them. All ships, Admiral Chen ordered. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading for the galactic rim. Heading for the Whisper's heart. Heading for the battle that would decide everything. The fleet emerged from hyperspace into a region of space that looked dead. Ancient stars burned dim and red. Debris from long-extinct civilizations floated in the void. And everywhere there were whisper entities, thousands of them, circling the Nexus like predators guarding their nest. The Nexus itself was massive, a structure larger than a planet. Built from materials that seemed to shift between organic and mechanical, it pulsed with energy, coordinating the entities spread across the galaxy. All ships. Thrace's voice was calm despite what they faced. Remember your training. No patterns. No predictability. Make them unable to adapt. Dr. Okonkwo's transport needs to reach the center. Everything else is secondary. Good luck. The battle began immediately. Whisper entities detected the fleet and swarmed toward them. The combined fleet split apart in dozens of different directions. No formations. No coordinated attack patterns. Pure chaos. Captain Rodriguez threw the Defiant into a spin that should have been suicidal. She fired weapons backward while flying forward. Shakar held onto his console as the ship moved in ways that defied common sense. "This is insane," he shouted. "Exactly." Rodriguez laughed and sent the ship diving under a whisper entity's tendrils. All around them, the battle raged. Shakar watched through the view screen as ships from a dozen species fought using tactics they had learned from humans. A Krethian battleship flew in loops while firing at random intervals. A Valorian carrier deployed fighters that moved like a swarm of insects, unpredictable and erratic. The whisper entities tried to adapt but could not. Every time they focused on one ship, it was gone. Every time they predicted an attack vector, ships came from different angles. The hive mind that had defeated organized council fleets now faced organized chaos. But there were so many entities. For every one destroyed, two more appeared. Ships were torn apart by tendrils. Explosions lit up the dead space. Shakar heard distress calls on the communication channels. Friends he had made over the past weeks died defending the transport carrying Dr. Okonkwo. "We're losing too many ships," Rodriguez said through gritted teeth. The Defiant's shields were failing. Hull breaches were reported on multiple decks. Then Thrace's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships, this is Thrace. We're going to give Dr. Okonkwo a clear path. Everyone focus on the Nexus's defensive perimeter. Not to destroy it. To confuse it. Make noise. Make chaos. Give them too much to process." Shakar understood. The entities operated on hive logic. They processed threats sequentially. If every ship presented a different threat simultaneously, the hive mind would be overwhelmed. "All weapons to maximum," Rodriguez ordered. "Fire everything at random intervals. Helm, I want you to fly like you've never taken a flying lesson in your life." The helmsman grinned. Finally, permission to fly badly. The Defiant joined hundreds of other ships in the most chaotic assault Shakar had ever witnessed. Ships fired while retreating. They broadcast false sensor data. They used weapons in ways they were never designed to be used. Some ships even rammed entities at unpredictable times, their crews sacrificing themselves to add to the confusion. The Nexus's defenses faltered. The entities protecting it could not process the overwhelming chaos. In that moment of confusion, Dr. Okonkwo's transport shot through the gap. But then Shakar saw it. A massive entity, larger than any they had encountered before, moved to intercept the transport. It was different from the others. More complex, more intelligent. "That's a command entity," Admiral Chen's voice came over the channel. "It's controlling the others. If it destroys that transport, this was all for nothing." "Then we stop it," Commander Thrace said. Shakar heard something in her voice. Finality. Decision. "All ships. Cover the transport. I'm going in." Shakar watched as Thrace's flagship, the Prometheus, broke formation. It accelerated toward the command entity, firing everything it had. Other ships moved to support her, but the entity was too fast. Its tendrils lashed out, tearing through ships like paper. The Prometheus took hit after hit. Shakar heard the damage reports over the command channel. The ship was dying, but Thrace kept going, drawing the entity's attention away from Dr. Okonkwo's transport. "Transport is clear," Dr. Okonkwo's voice came through. "We're entering the Nexus. Beginning the approach to the core." "Good," Thrace said. Her voice was calm, accepting. "Rodriguez, you have command of the fleet. Finish this." "Commander, no," Rodriguez started to say. "That's an order, Captain." The Prometheus flew directly into the command entity's center mass. At the last second, Thrace detonated every weapon on the ship simultaneously. The explosion was blinding. When it cleared, both the ship and the entity were gone. The fleet fell silent for a moment. Then Rodriguez's voice, raw with emotion, came over all channels. All ships, press the attack. Don't let it be for nothing. The battle continued with renewed fury. Ships that had been falling back now pushed forward. The entities, without their command unit, began to show signs of confusion. Their coordination faltered. Inside the Nexus, Dr. Okonkwo and her team worked frantically. Jakar listened to their progress over the command channel. The core was protected by layers of ancient technology. Each layer required them to solve puzzles left by a long-dead species. We're through the third layer, Dr. Okonkwo reported. I can see the core system. It's incredible. The sophistication of this technology, can you reprogram it? Rodriguez asked. I think so, but I need time. Outside, the fleet fought to buy her that time. The Defiant's shields finally collapsed. Enemy fire punched through the hull. Shakar was thrown from his console as the ship shook. Hull breach on deck 3, someone shouted. We're venting atmosphere. Rodriguez kept flying. Her hands moved across the controls with precision born of desperation. Come on, Doctor, she whispered. We can't hold much longer. Then Dr. Okonkwo's voice came through, excited and terrified at once. I'm in the core system. I can see the code. It's not just a weapon. It's a test. What? Admiral Chen demanded. The species that built this, they were testing other civilizations. The Whisper consumes galaxies that fail to unite against it. Galaxies that cannot overcome their differences. It's a filter. A test of whether a civilization deserves to continue evolving. Shakar felt shock wash over him. The Council had nearly failed that test. Would have failed it if not for humanity's refusal to give up. Can you stop it? Rodriguez asked. Better, Dr. Okonkwo said. I can change its parameters. Make it wait. Observe instead of consume. Give our galaxy time to prove itself. Do it. Jakar watched through the damaged view screen as the Nexus began to pulse with different colored light. The entities attacking the fleet suddenly stopped. They hung motionless in space. Then slowly they began to withdraw, moving back toward the Nexus, retreating. It's working, Dr. Okonkwo reported. The Whisper is standing down. It's going into observation mode. It will watch our galaxy but not consume it. Cheers erupted across the fleet channels. Ships that had been moments from destruction now floated in space, battered but alive. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair, tears streaming down her face. We did it. Shakar looked around the damaged bridge. The crew was exhausted. Many were injured. They had lost so much, but they had won. The return journey to Haven Station took days. The fleet limped back, carrying their wounded and their dead. When they arrived, refugees from a dozen species greeted them as heroes. But Jakar did not feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had learned a hard lesson too late. The memorial service for Commander Thrace and the thousands of others who had died was held on Haven Station's main observation deck. Representatives from every species attended. High Arbiter Kelnoth spoke, his holographic form shimmering. We failed them, Kelnoth said. We failed to listen, failed to act, failed to see the truth when it was presented to us. The humans tried to warn us and we dismissed them. Commander Thrace and her people saved us despite our failure. The Arbiter turned to Jakar. Ambassador Jakar, you tried to make us understand. You succeeded where others failed. On behalf of the Council, I award you the highest honor any being can receive. But Jakar shook his head. I don't deserve honor. I voted against Dr. Okonkwo's request. I dismissed the warnings like everyone else. If anyone deserves recognition, it's the humans who prepared while we debated. Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward. She looked exhausted but alive. Ambassador Commander Thrace left something for you. She recorded it before the battle. They played the recording. Thrace appeared on the screen, wearing her worn uniform. Ambassador Zakar, if you're watching this, it means I didn't make it. That's okay. This was always a one-way trip for some of us. But I want you to know something. You did listen, maybe late, maybe not as soon as we needed, but you listened. You changed your mind when presented with evidence. You acted. That's rare. Don't ever forget that the ability to change, to adapt, to admit you were wrong, that's strength, not weakness. She smiled slightly. The Council reacted late. People disappeared before it began, but in the end you all showed up. You all fought. That's what matters. Not when you started believing, but that you believed when it counted. The recording ended. Jakar felt tears on his face. Around him, representatives from 12 species stood in silence honoring the dead. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to rebuild. The Whisper's nexus remained at the Galactic